winning and losing a game in the same series that we saw between GK and Tianfeng Yaoguai. But I like the respect given by Nightmare to Ofenar, right? Instant Cho ban. They've realized that it's a big flex for the Turkish team and they don't want to deal with it.
It's a huge issue as well because Alien wants to play on these more aggressive fighting style EXP laners. If you get rid of the Cho, then it'll force him back onto things like the Gatot or the Hylos, which he's a little less comfortable on, which should allow you to control the map just a little bit easier, especially without diversion too.
Yeah, diversion was also one of the few abilities. This Loi kind of helped Ofenar win their second game yesterday as well against GK. We saw how nasty Ofenar was with the movements, right? You really don't want to give them those extra cross-map abilities. The Fanny ban, pretty much expected, still 100% a ban in the wildcard alongside Sin. I am wondering though, since Chip is no longer a must ban, will more teams let him through?
I think more teams will definitely let him through, but he's always going to be a ticking time bomb in the backline as well. The more you stop thinking about him, the more he's able to catch you off guard. In the hands of a less coordinated team, Chip, especially after the nerfs he received, doesn't have as much of an impact on the map. But in the hands of the right player, like Rosa, or not Rosa, that's Loi of course, in the hands of the right players, Chip becomes a beast. He just destroys your sense of scouting on the map.
You lose all kinds of direction, I guess, right? Because he can show out of nowhere and then he brings the whole squad with him. He's just the perfect guy to hang out with, right? He always brings the whole crew along. We've seen it yesterday when you look at Ofenar's draft. They like these big combos as well. Gatot Kacha and Aurora, the Loi Cho. Obviously, Loi Cho is not part of the equation anymore, but the Gatot Aurora is still around. We also have Khalid available if Nightmare wants to first pick it. The Hylos, Phobius, plenty of options.
I do think that the Gatot pick becomes a little bit more difficult to play around when you don't have a Cho, because I am always a proponent of the fact that Gatot, even as the roamer, is not a good primary engage. It's very difficult to catch people in Avatar Guardian without someone else scattering the fight first, and that's what Alien was doing on the Cho pick previously. So without it, we'll see if they still focus on that kind of style.
The Khalid, like we said, is going to go through. The last ban from Ofenar is going to be Hilda, so you kind of keep that jungler safe, give Tianzi a very comfortable early game. So Chip went into the second pick in the previous series for DFYG. I wonder if Ofenar also will consider that. Obviously, if you have Gatot Aurora and another +1 to set up, it is a way to deal with the shortcut as well.
Yeah, I think Ofenar can definitely consider picking up the Chip if they want, but it's also not really a hero they prioritized yesterday. So it could be a gentleman's agreement, just both sides deciding, we're not going to deal with this for now. But the Hylos, also a very common opener here, very safe, can be flexed into both Rome and EXP, as well as the Valentina.
Wow. I do like this though, because we saw yesterday a callback to Nightmare series against Tianfeng Yaoguai. That Yves was a big contention, right? It was almost banned in all games yesterday, but this Valentina does allow Ofenar to get a copy of the real world manipulation regardless. I wonder what is Nightmare thinking right now, because they usually would pick Jasmine and Too Easy for Lexi's hero in the first 3 picks. This Khalid is still up in the air, but I'm expecting the jungler to come out.
Yeah, with Suyo gone, Alpha now becomes a pretty popular pickup, but you could also just lean away from that and go straight into Assassins. The entire Assassin hero pool is still open. Hayabusa, Nolan, Ling. So we'll see what Nightmare Esports wants to go for. The Eve is definitely out there, but with a Valentina, do you want to risk it? Looks like the answer is yes.
Does give you decent control still. Eve, Alpha, I feel like we've seen a similar archetype of this yesterday, where you just have this very robust comp that controls a specific zone, right? A very tight zone. You create a vacuum in team fights. I do like this approach from Nightmare. So for Ofenar, they are still open with that jungler. I feel like Ling wouldn't be too bad of a choice for Tianzi.
Ling would be pretty alright. It could let you avoid the death box entirely, but a similar hero would be the Hayabusa.
Yep.
You just don't have to deal with the real world manipulation as long as your positioning is good. And I was just about to point this out. You see an Alpha, you gotta get rid of Matilda.
You have to, especially when it's one of Jasmine's signature hero. I guess something better than being a Ling that flies up into the air is just do not exist, right? Just don't exist in the realm with that Ogi Shadow kill.
We're just gonna go back to the ages when sky warfare was not an issue to deal with, right? We're gonna keep it on the ground. We're gonna keep things down to earth. Harif going to also be banned out, which is actually quite interesting because typically Eve would be a pretty solid solution to Harif of just zoning him away from the Zaman force, but since there's a Hylos there, I guess they're just worried about that enabling him.
And even ban out the Gatot, so they don't have any intentions of picking that hero, but they also want to prevent Nightmare from having that extra layer of crowd control. You know, you get that taunt onto someone like Tianzi, it is a death sentence for the Hayabusa. I think like if you're Nightmare, you're probably banning out another gold laner. Maybe the Beatrix can be considered, Beatrix or Bruno? Yeah, Beatrix probably would fit the bill.
Bruno right now would be just the safe go-to because he does have generally winning lanes 1v1 against most other gold laners in the meta. But like you mentioned, Beatrix is always a safe fallback too. To be honest, I wonder if it's better to just ban... No. They do get rid of Bruno.
They could take Beatrix. I mean, they do have first pick in the second phase. They could take Beatrix now, and you still keep that high loss as a potential flex. I'm still seeing multiple options if you want to put high loss into Roam. I think that that XP lane still has some heroes that could fit it. The CC, we saw that by DFYG earlier on. If push comes to shove, I think the Damus could also be a thing, albeit a bit rarer. You go for the Natan though, so the Beatrix does get let through.
Natan, not quite as popular as he was during the MPL season, but I still feel like this hero can be kind of busted at certain times. Good early game poke, great late game scaling. He just blows you up so quickly once he has those like 4th or 5th items that you don't even see what's coming.
Yeah, sometimes if you are ahead, you just go 3rd item Holy Crystal, right?
Yep.
It skyrockets that power curve. And of course, there's always the advantage of I can build Winds of Nature, but you, too bad, no Winds of Nature for you because I do magic damage.
That is always going to be a thing to worry about, and because you have the Natan combined with Hayabusa too, it makes it a bit harder for Nightmare Esports to itemize against both magic and physical damage. Looks like this is going to be a Khalid roam since they lock in the Phoveus here alongside the Moskov.
I was thinking about the Moskov and Beatrix, but I guess both of them work. You do have early oppression against Natan, but Moskov in particular is not that bad against Hayabusa if you catch him kind of sleeping on the wheel with the quad shadows. We saw that example yesterday again. It was used on Nightmare, so they definitely know how that feels.
Yeah, they definitely do, and that's not a feeling that they want to replicate again. So now, one final pick for Ulfednar. Hylo still flexible, but I feel like Alien would ideally want more of a playmaker EXP lane, but a lot of them are already gone from the hero pool. If he goes on the Hylos, can still enable for his team, but it's not quite the same feeling he's used to.
What about Tigreal or Terizla? I had that in the back of my mind as well, because I see if Tigreal doesn't feel good, but Terizla, you want crowd control to set up, which is something that Ulfednar didn't have until this Terizla pick. I do like it. You essentially sandbag the lane against the Phoveus, you can catch multiple targets, and yeah, they ban out Gato Kacha, but you still have Terizla to dive the Eve. You know what, looking at the draft, I think Ulfednar and Nightmare both have a very solid draft, and now it comes down to the roamers, right? Can Jasmine recover from yesterday? And I think if he can, and he matches Apex 47 using this Khalid, Nightmare can actually stop Ulfednar from accelerating the game.
Yeah, if the Khalid is able to invade against TNZ straight away, we know Hayabusa is one of those assassins that can be pretty vulnerable to early game disturbance. But that will depend on their performance, because we are gonna be jumping into the Land of Dawn once again here, ladies and gentlemen. This is gonna be game number 1 of our 3rd match here in the M6 Wildcards Day 2. Bear witness to Ulfednar versus Nightmare Esports.
So many storylines, but not enough time, so we just have to cut to the chase. Again, roamers are important. Both junglers gonna have parallel jungling experience. You know, purple buff for Lexi and orange for TNZ. Look out for level 4 as well. I think with the Khalid, you definitely want to be the one to move fast. Mid-side, good poke on the Apex.
But Apex is able to use his Revitalize and do the same back to Jasmine. Both Roamer is going to take quite a lot of damage initially. And this mid lane priority is very, very important. We've already seen it determine early games in multiple situations. If you're able to unlock your mid or even your EXP as soon as possible, you can make things happen.
Speaking about making things happen, we also want to remind you guys that M6 Pass is already available from the 18th of November to 29th of December. You can make your dream happen of owning something like the Claude exclusive statue by maxing out your battle pass, and along the way get exclusive skins like the Boxer special skins, the Claude M6 skin, Cosmic Blaze, the Claude figurines, Sacred Statue, Spawn Effect, everything under the sun.
Yep, the M6 Pass only gonna last until the end of December, so make sure to jump on that. But now we can see Jasmine a little bit too far forward. Instant 3-man collapse and first blood to Tianzi.
Slightly weird interaction that Soso wasn't even there. I guess maybe Jasmine wanted to hold the lane hostage, but to engage like that definitely is not what you want, especially when you're 20 seconds away from the first turtle spawning.
Yeah, a bit of disrespect to the Torn Queen there. Figured that, hey, I'm 1v1 against Valentina. I can at least poke them out, but you're never truly alone, especially if you're not, like, checking vision first. So, a small mistake, but not too big a deal so far for Nightmare. They just gotta clean things up.
And as much damage as Khalid deals, Rosa does have the Brace Might, so that extra regen, that extra healing, 5% max HP with every single proc is gonna help.
Turtle dropping very low. Lexi on top of it. Looks like Tianzi not actually even gonna contest it. And now they engage. Raging Sandstorm at 2 with the RWM. Rosa has the flicker out. Gonna use the Raging Sandstorm to escape to safety. Apex almost trades for Lexi, but not able to get out in time. Tianzi not gonna have his Ogi Shadow kill either, so not able to finish Kami in the top lane.
Tianzi is still sticking around. That Quad Shadow will come back up in just a little bit. So Kami needs help. Jasmine will do that deed. Force Tianzi away. Get a bit of poke. Sunshine will take that recall. So timing-wise for Ulfanar is not too shabby. They traded a turtle. They traded 1 kill. Nightmare East will stabilize the state of the game for now. But again, if Jasmine is allowed to move freely and not get punished like he did in the first 1.5 minutes, it will be good for Nightmare.
Yeah, Nightmare Esports were able to even things up a little bit there because, oh, hold on. The Fear of Alpha misses on Rosa, and Glorious Pathway means he cannot continue. So a bit of a failed gank here.
It's a very good attempt, and Oppa also doing a great job of stopping Alien. It's just incredibly tough to fight into a Phobius. Even though you are technically a sandbag as the owner of the body of a Smith, Alien still has to respect the constant poke from Oppa, who at the same time is running that vengeance, so he is just going to be a brick wall.
And I think that's exactly what Nightmare Esports needs to play around with. We have a little bit of a fun fact here, though. Rosa has played a total of 146 games in Moonton recognized tournaments, winning 105 of them with a 71.9% win rate.
I don't even get that high of a win rate on my best hero.
Oh, Apex gets caught with the Raging Sandstorm. Beautiful knockup from the Phobius right into the RWM, but Apex still surviving all of it with a Revitalize, which means that Opper is separated by himself. A massive spam of the internal pursuit. Fear of Destruction lands on Sunshine, but he's 1 hit away from death, and TNC is able to get out of the Quad Shadow as they trade for Jasmine.
I honestly thought that they would have at least find Tianzi, but I guess that is not the case. Such a good push and pull by Ulfanar, and we also see one of the core weakness of this Phobius. Whenever you commit with the Infernal Pursuit, there is only one way forward, and a lot of times if your team is not ready to back you up or they cannot catch up, that one way leads you to the grave.
So many members of Ulfhednar were just at a tiny sliver of HP. That would have been a huge win for Nightmare. But you can see the maturity here as Rosa now jumps in, jumps onto Soul, and he is gone. Raging Sandstorm lands on Tianzi, but he's able to escape. Turtle claimed by the Alpha as Jasmine is traded by Sunshine. He is here to do his damage. Too easy for Lexi on top of Nantan, but the rest of Ulfhednar just zoning him away from their goal laner. Opper jumping in again with Infernal Pursuit. Now in a very awkward spot as both Alien and Apex chase him down. Do they have enough damage to actually finish off the Phobius? He's dropping real low. Looks like the answer is yes.
Man, Ring of Punishment is so punishing. Oppa slow down to a crawl. There is no getting out. Bottom tier 1 does go over to Nightmare Esports as Kami decided that he didn't want to be part of that skirmish. Ulfanar now with a close to 2k gold advantage. The top side completely free for Sunshine. 7 kills to 1. They have successfully accelerated that early game.
And they managed to give 2 kills and 1 assist to Sunshine on this Natan as well. We talked about this. This hero can be pretty annoying, especially if he has some farm under his belt. This means he's gonna hit that spike around the 4th item much quicker. And once he gets his Holy Crystal, Nightmare Esports is gonna explode.
Man, Apex 47, even as an elegant gem. Uh-oh, ambush.
Speaking of exploding, Raging Sandstorm from Jasmine into the Quicksand Guard. Can he survive? No! Alien whacks him down. The body of the Smith crushing Jasmine.
Unfortunate, Cammy wanted to save his teammate with the Spear of Misery, but was out of range. Or perhaps Jasmine would have been able to get out with the Flicker, because he still had it held on. Just got bursted down too fast. Bot tier 1 goes down to Sunshine. Last we checked, both marksmen had the same net worth, but I think Sunshine is definitely slowly pulling ahead with all the free space that he is getting.
Yeah, and the more space ULF Hednar create, the more comfortable he becomes. You can see that he's even able to solo push down bottom lane without having to worry about too much anymore. Map control very much shifting in the direction of ULF Hednar. And even though the goal lead isn't that big, Nightmare Esports in some trouble.
Sky Piercer for Tianzi. Just got that from the shop. As the 3rd turtle spawns on the map. So Nightmare have gotten the first 2. Overna kind of gave it away. Let's see if they can get this one.
Up Turtle, down to 40%. Jasmine is here scouting it out, but the rest of Nightmare cannot enter. TNC gets it very easily, and now the rest of ULF Hednar engaging. Glorious Pathway catches up too. Jasmine dropping low, surviving with the Quicksand Dart, but Sunshine gets the killing spree. Alien though can be traded as too easy for Lexi, doing a lot of damage on the opposite side of the team fight. It's a 1-for-1 trade.
Not too bad, honestly, for Nightmares. Rosa steals the Spear of Alpha just to make that escape. Pretty neutral, if I dare say, though they take Alien at the cost of Jasmine, who right now is 0-5 on the Khalid, but the value of the Khalid will always be there. Great engage, you can kind of soak up damage with the Quicksand Guard, which heals you more. The more heal, the lower your health is, the more heal you get. It's always great when you need to get out of a sticky situation, but again, Openar, because TNZ has the Sky Piercer, you gotta watch out for it, right? If you start stacking that up, your Moskov is in danger.
I think ULF Hednar did make a bit of a mistake with that previous engagement though. Penalty zone being used by Alien only on Jasmine here. That feels like a weird decision.
Well, I guess they did find him. Though I would agree, you could hold it a bit more. Ideally, you want to get onto Soso or Cammy, or best case scenario, both. But with Soso getting that glowing 1, the Wishing Lantern is going to come up in a little bit, I assume. It will make it harder for people like Apex and Alien to walk up. And not to mention, the rest of the members of ULF Hednar aren't exactly the beefiest.
Yeah, ULF Hednar does need to be somewhat careful when opening up the map, even though they've been able to slowly expand their control over the Land of Dawn. It's still very risky for them to walk too far forward, because Nightmare actually does have a good degree of burst.
I do like Soso even went for the double amulet just to get the extra mana regen, so you don't have to rely on the enchanted talisman. Some extra armors with the boots as well. But again, Wishing Lantern is going to be the key item that allows Soso to gain a bit more control over Openar, who's just camping this mid bush.
Up TNC jumps in, goes for the Oki Shadow kill with a stolen RWM, and instantly Soso is gone.
Couldn't even respond at all. That's Sky Piercer stack again. TNZ actually didn't find the stack, which is unfortunate, but still, right? They find a kill and now
Penalty
one more.
zone on 2, into the Glorious Pathway, Spear of Alpha to escape, Raging Sandstorm lands on 2. It's pretty good, but mega kill for Sunshine already. Make that double, Spear of Destruction lands, Vengeance used, but Upper is 1v5, and that is 4 members of Nightmare down for the count.
Just cannot fight without Soso. You need the Eve. The real world manipulation is what allows Nightmare Esports to create a controlled environment, and without it, ULF Hednar just runs wild like a pack of wolves looking for their prey. Now they're looking for Cammy. No penalty zone from Alien, so no commitment, but Lord will go over to ULF Hednar, and this is them having a vice grip over the game. Let's look at the instant replay presented to you by Kadia. Great penalty zone from Alien, the Glorious Pathway to basically block Jasmine out. Nightmare Esports tried to force the fight, but once more do not have the resources to do anything.
Nightmare Esports definitely did not want to fight there. Great job by Alien to punish them for standing a bit too far forward when they clearly didn't have their battle utils anymore. Once Soso was gone, Nightmare needed to shift into defensive play.
It definitely did. Even right now, I think it's tough for Cammy, right? He's been getting some space, but that space has quickly shrunk. Bot tier 2 should fall. The jungle is completely plundered by ULF Hednar. It's again like a bunch of wolves. They're feasting right now. It's a buffet for the Turkish team.
They look very comfortable right now. 5k gold lead, not actually that big at 10 minutes, but a 13-2 kill score shows you how heavily they've been dominating Nightmare. Glorious Pathway cuts them off behind a beautiful flicker penalty zone on 3 members. RWM comes out, Sunshine from the flank. Winter Crown used by Alexi in the mid lane, but he's not going to be able to survive. Apex picks up that kill. Spear of Destruction whiffed completely. The rest of Nightmare still alive though, so they can hold their inhibitors.
That's the key item I've been waiting for. Wishing Lantern for So at 11 minutes into the game. It does feel slightly bad that it took him this long, but better late than never. And I gotta say, Sunshine's positioning is immaculate. He noticed that Nightmare Esports were funneling into that mid-side, so he came in with the entropy from the right side of the fight, and Nightmare had no resources to even force out the Purify or force him to retreat. This 5-0 Natan, Holy Crystal as the third item. We talk about that accelerating the critical mass timing, and he is now at that point.
1.6k ahead of the enemy gold laner. Jasmine walking up to scout, and he is gone. That's what we talked about. Monster kill for Sunshine. When you have this Holy Crystal, you do so much damage.
Oh my god, just blew right through Jasmine's health pool. This is a choco. Ophenar, they are just going to keep Nightmare Esports on their side of the map. Basically lock them in the base, right? They can keep shoving the wave, and once that Lord comes up, it is Lord time.
Lord up in another 45 seconds, but Ophenar probably don't even need it. We see the entropy come out. RWM double death box, and it looks like So the one losing killing spree for TNC as he picks up Cammy on the other side of the map as well. 3 members of Nightmare gone. Top inhibitor taken out. Sunshine 704 on the Natan. Too easy for Lexi. Gonna clear up the wave. Jasmine has to flicker away, but TNC's just gonna follow him like a shadow in the night. Mega kill for the Hayabusa.
Nightmare only have one last chance, but I think Ophenar can just run it down.
And too easy for Lexi. He is not even an obstacle. Winter Crown will only delay the inevitable as Ophenar take him out. And the crystal now wide open. Opper and Sosol are back, but Opper's already gone. That's a legendary streak. Bury the nightmares and let the sun shine through as Ophenar take game number 1.
It is a fantasy, a dream come true for Ophenar in Game 1, but for Nightmare Esports, they still have to grapple with their demons. A complete massacre in Game 1. It should be rated R with how brutal Ophenar executed that mid to late game. It felt like everything was going the way of the Turkish teams. And unfortunately for our Laos representative, it is just the structures falling apart from the get-go.
They've already stated themselves that they feel ready to take on M6, that they feel even stronger than they were in the previous season, and we are seeing that on full display. One more game and Ophenar will have 2 clean sweeps and a very clear path towards the wildcard finals.
Absolutely, and not just that, they also would sign the elimination warrant for a Nightmare Esports. So one win is going to decide the fate for 2 teams. Again, we mentioned about the possibility of that setting us up for a Grand Shona tomorrow when Ophenar takes on DFYG. But for Nightmare, if the run ends here, it's not only history repeating itself, but at the same time, it's going to be heartbreak for a team that has always came so close.
It's always been right before the finish line. Nightmare Esports and many other Laotian representatives have been wanting to show what they can do on the international stage. But with the competition getting more and more difficult every single year, we can tell the evolution of MLBB and just how big the gap you have to bridge is to truly stand on that international stage.
Well, I gotta say, Ophenar definitely set the bar. A perfect game for Sunshine. Deathless on the Natan. Last we checked in, he got Holy Crystal as third item, and he proceeded to just completely destroy the entirety of Nightmare. We also pointed out that the roamers need to be at the tip-top condition, especially Jasmine. That Khalid didn't have a good game at all.
Yeah, Jasmine, I think he started off the game trying his best. He did actually find some good angles, but Ophenar was always packed up quite tightly. Even though they're not playing super close together, you can see that they're positioned in a way where backup can always arrive when it is necessary, because they're aware that Nightmare Esports is going to be forced to do something at some point, and a mistake will be made in positioning the longer a status quo is dragged out.
Look at the item builds as well. First of all, it's a 22 kills to 2. So Ophenar essentially almost got a perfect game. I would even say that this is a perfect game, despite two devs, one on the side of Alien and one for Apex 47, but the other front line is doing their job. And look at Sunshine, right? Basically almost decked out at pre-13 minutes.
Only one item away from being full build at this stage of the game is insane. Nearly 11k gold in 12 minutes. Shows you how comfortably he was farming. It's usually dangerous to let a marksman free farm in their lane, but it's even more so if they're joining fights and getting kills off of it. And that's exactly what Ulfhednar was setting up for.
And I do like how they have been able to do the push and pull in these team fights. Every single time Oppa shows up, they're just gonna drag him deeper and deeper into the fray. Every time Jasmine tries to go for a Raging Sandstorm, you always have to deal with Rosa with that Shadow Strike. To terrify against melee heroes is so oppressing.
That's why it's quite risky to go for a combination like this. If you have an Eve and a Phoveus, your goal is basically to split the fight in half. You want some people in the death box, you want Phoveus to be distracting the rest. But if Ulfhednar are the ones controlling it, if they're the ones pulling Oppa towards them while entirely avoiding the RWM, and I really like the way they use the Valentina prematurely too. So yeah, Ulfhednar, the experience shines through. They made sure Nightmare couldn't play for their teamfight win conditions and were in full control the whole time.
Even when you look at the emblems, the talents for the side of Ulfhednar, they only really have that one Wilderness Blessing on Rosa, but it really didn't matter too much because they got a decent lead in the beginning. And when you want to talk about Death Ball, this is it right in front of your eyes, right? All the objectives going their way.
The only thing that Nightmare came up on top on was the turtle, but we did see a few times of Ulfhednar willingly giving the turtle away to try and make something else happen. Especially with that first turtle where TNZ wanted to go for the timing, give it away to Lexi and try to target Cammy. He didn't get that kill unfortunately, but the idea is there.
Yeah, the idea is definitely there. Couple of close calls in the early game, especially that one moment where we witnessed that Ulfhednar had 4 low health members but no cleanup crew from Nightmare. And a lot of times, you also pointed out, Sadalfa, that Ulfhednar, they're forcing Nightmare to take fights that they're not willing to take, right? Nightmare just wants to fall back, but Ulfhednar kept on going. And that special mentions to Alien on this Terizla.
Alien wants to be the initiator, and I think that is a perfect position to be in. But I do also worry a little bit about the hero pool. Once the Cho was gone, he immediately went back to good old reliable Terizla. What happens after next? What happens when a team pops up that actually does contest this particular hero? Are his pockets deep enough?
It's a question that we probably would see in the Swiss stage because right now he's not really pressured to go deeper than that. MVP for game number 1, we gotta give it to Sunshine. He's the ray of hope for Ulfhednar. 8-0-6 on this Natan, completely uncontested in game 1.
I mean, what's the ultimate enemy of your nightmares haunting you in your sleep? It is when you break the curtains wide open and the sun shines right through. Sunshine being the ray of light, like you mentioned, Husky, that allows Ulfhednar to break through Nightmare Esports. He is the win condition, he is the late game carry, but he came online so quickly that late game wasn't even a question.
He reached late game when everyone else was still trying to get to that mid game, right? And it was a conscious decision from Ulfhednar to opt for a Natan instead of a Beatrix after seeing a Bruno banned out. So I do like the approach that Ulfhednar has brought. This is one of those moments where Nightmare Esports fell ever so short. The last minute Ogi Shadow Q from TNZ to avoid certain death really set the stage for how precise Ulfhednar are with their movements.
Yeah, I think we could see from these highlights very clearly that something Nightmare Esports needs to figure out is when it is time to call it quits. There are times when you just have to admit a loss and back away before you lose even more. And there were way too many fights where they lost a crucial member, such as SoSoul, and kept trying to push the issue. Ulfhednar, of course, made it difficult for them to escape. But there's just times when you gotta run.
Yeah, especially when you fight into this death ball comp. You're not only dealing with Alien, who has a penalty zone, you're dealing with a high loss, who is essentially negating a lot of your offensive stats, right? You can't really move, you don't attack as much, and unfortunately Moskov just isn't ready to fight. So in this case, I think Ulfhednar, again, came well prepared. Now the question